Nice to meeting you all virtually online. So myself and Piamsuk is going to share our experiences in the context of coaching engagement. Let's see what the coaching engagement is about. Just before that, I would like to invite Piamsuk to give a brief introduction and a background of your work. Yes, Piamsuk.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Hi, I'm Piamsuk. I'm a business development director and act as program director in Bangkok. I have entering into the coaching for around 4 or 5 years, and I found that coaching is one of the most valuable for me. And so tonight, together with Jayanta, this evening we are going to talk about the coaching engagement. We will share some of interesting points from our coaching experience, and hope it will help you to see some different angle, maybe from what you have. Hope you enjoy the session. So now I would pass back to Jay to talk about what is coaching engagement. Jayanta, please.
Right. Thank you. And I would introduce myself in a brief manner too. So I started coaching, I think at the same number of years, about 5 years back. And it has come to a practice where I am more focusing now on executive coaching, where my intention today is to share my experiences specifically around my experiences around coaching engagement when it comes to business coaching or executive coaching. So I work mostly as an external coach and working with executives and organizations. So shall we just dive in now? Yes. So let me say, like, what is coaching engagement? So in any engagement, there can be, like, say, explicitly said things. Thank you. So
Jay, you're back on again. We just lost you for a couple of seconds.
Okay, Ben. One more thing on my presentation. There is a quick poll. Something closing the presentation. Can you remove that from your end?
Again, sorry. Can you say that again?
There is a poll message coming. Quick poll on top of the presentation.
No, I don't see it.
It says host and participants can't vote. I'm voting. Yeah, with a question.
So sorry, I'm not getting you. You can't see the presentation, or? I
can see the presentation, and on top of the presentation, there's another box which is covering that. It's a poll, online poll.
Yeah, we just have to. Okay, let me just end the poll. Okay, sure.
Now okay. Now okay. Can we go to the first slide, Ben?
Is it this one?
No, the previous one. Previous one.
Okay.
Right. So we'll run it from the beginning. Right. Okay. So when it comes to engagement, so especially when it comes to coaching engagement, it's a new type of engagement that we create from past experiences. So when it comes to the client brings the story, which is the story he's having certain experiences. So we can't assume things when we go into these coaching experiences, coaching engagement. So what we have to see here is what is the best fit, what story is being presented, and what are the expectations, what are the outcomes, and from the point of view of the client, where sometimes we need to spend more time to understand the unsaid story as well. So more clear the message, or maybe more deeply that we understand each other as the client and the coach, the better the engagement. And it is about finding the best fit just before starting the conversation. Yes. So at this point, I would like Priyanshu to add some of his thoughts as well.
Yeah, the engagement in this context is a human touch. In the coaching conversation, how the coach can hold the connection between him or herself and the client is one of the key elements to make the conversation meaningful in a way that it goes towards the outcome expected. It's the ability to consistently engage the heart, the minds of the clients. It's what we are strive for it. It's a very essence of coaching. It is what makes coaches and clients feel alive. Yes, Jay.
Yeah, Priyanshu. So let us see what is this difference between a normal conversation and a coaching conversation in the context of engaging. So for me, coaching is about bringing my whole self as a coach in front of a client. Meaning, so I expect that the client also to bring their whole self. When I say that, it's a dialogue, and it's a dialogue of reflection, and it's a dialogue where to inquire and explore the meaning for the client. So when it comes to engaging conversation, understanding the context where the client is, and bring the best deep level of learning to the client is the agenda for the conversation. And the next thing is, coaching conversation is a conversation which is initiated mainly from the part of the client. So meaning the coach may not engage with the agenda from the side of the coach. So in that context, coaching engagement, it's very much needed where that the mutual trust being built over to move forward. So why that we need to build mutual trust is the way I think is where there are fears. More trust worthy between the coach and the client, the less we can reduce the fear. So in that context, I think engagement in the organizational context is little bit more complex than the personal level coaching, where the client and the sponsor is the same. So let me come to that in few minutes. Priyanshu, you have to add anything here?
Yeah, I wanted to add on about the what Jay had just said. It's about the partnership establishment between the coach and the client, or the parties that involve. Coaching is a partnership between the coach and the client with the genuine commitment from both parties. This is the fundamental of the connection creating and leads to the trust. That Jay said that about the fear or something, that the trust could make that minimal. The coach is to match with the client in terms of level. Either way, of the coach has the higher level management background, and the client, either way, of the coach has like high level management background, and the client is the middle management of and the client is, all the clients is the high level executive, and the coach is seems that he's lower ranking than that. Psychologically, the level of the coach and the client would be equal. That can be done that maybe in the very beginning of the conversation, or before the session is starting. Yeah, we may call, some would call it pre-framing, or before starting of the coaching session. Yes, back to you, Jay.
Yeah, thank you, Piansuk. So there can be different kinds of engagement just before starting the coaching. Like it needs to be understood by the client that whether this coach is suitable, whether this coach is matching to me. So in that context, the credentialing, ICF credentialing, and the ethics, and the kind of training that the coach has taken, and the practice helps the client or the sponsors of the client together to build trust. So that's where that the continuous development also helps, and it is our, as coaches, our duty, and a kind of mandatory thing to continuously develop ourselves in that context, right? And the other thing is where, like, when we engage with the client, and the client or the sponsors would like to see that, or maybe to understand that how or what kind of coaching, the process of coaching, like where that we study transformative coaching, what kind of coaching that this particular coach is competent of doing. Like, say in my case, where when I present to corporates, I do present myself as a coach that helps to change the leadership behavior, or maybe improve the leadership skills in that platform. And then I use transformative coaching, which I learned with CMA in my profile, where that helps the client or the sponsors to see or to understand the credibility of the coach, and it generates more trust, because those are the immediate questions. Like, okay, in Sri Lankan context, when we approach even the companies, first thing is they are not aware of exactly what coaching is. So there is a trust building starts from the immediate point where the company is calling you and to hand over their clients to us. So it's a process of learning from the beginning and educating them. So in that sense, when it comes to coaching in business context, why I said it's a bit complicated, because there are others involved, other stakeholders like HR department sometimes, and then the boss of the particular client sometimes, and then again there can be certain times where you have to connect the appropriate stakeholders into the coaching assignment, where that's why I said it's a bit complicated when it comes to that, because unless otherwise we clarify very well what are their expectations and then agreed upon the roles that each person, what is the HR's role in this coaching session, what is the boss's role in this coaching session, and what information that we need to share like with the HR or with the boss, because we say that the coaching is private and confidential and we have to maintain that. So before we start, immediately we establish that trust by discussing and coming into agreement what information to share. So in one hand, it's about meeting expectations, and in the other hand, we agree upon the objectives for the coaching session, and then agree upon what information and what roles that each one play. And again, how that we are going to measure, especially in the organizational context, the bosses or the sponsor or the HR, they would like to see some improvement, visible improvement. So then measurement criteria is also been very clearly discussed and agreed upon before we move forward. So yes, so this is what I can say right now. So anything to add, Piamsu?
Yeah, I have the pretty much similar experience as yours. We have the pretty clear position. We can call it positioning, or what type of the coach that the clients would expect it from us. Some of the coach has identified themselves as a life coach. So the clients will come, will have the who has the issue about their life. They would like to move forward about the dilemma on the life, on the daily life things. So we go to that kind of the coach, and the leadership coach or performance coach, executive coach. So that's pretty much pretty important to position yourself as what kind of coaching, what kind of coach you are. So for example, like me, I can go to the organization similar as you, Jay. I'm the leadership coach. The client expect the higher performance from their management. So we have the expectation. We have discussed the expectation. What is the measurement? What is the criteria? What is the outcome they are looking for? So this is the very beginning before the real coaching session begins. Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Piamsu. And at this point, I would like to share a specific experience that actually, I can say that it's a bit of learning where the contracting went contracting was, because the contracting was properly not done. So kind of a tough experience that I went through. Where like at one session, the client was not really convinced it was sponsored by the HR department, and the client was not really ready to receive coaching. And at that time, I wasn't very sure of like to assess the client's readiness, whether the client is coachable and whether the client is ready to receive coaching. So I went forward with the coaching sessions, and in the big, like say third or fourth session, I really felt that it's not moving anywhere. Then to see that my maturity as a coach was not that much. It was not there. Then somehow I have to like say communicate that this to the client, where this coaching is not going anywhere. Somehow then I, with the support of another senior coach, I wanted the client to convey that to the HR department, and then we stopped that session. So then later on, when I'm maturing myself as a coach, I found that sometimes little before getting into agreement, it is very important to see detailed, go into a detailed discussion and try to understand the coachability or the readiness from the client's perspective as well. So this is one example. I can share another one where I mixed coaching into a training, but it was not properly agreed upon over the coaching outcomes. So management had an idea where this coaching session will help those managers whom I undertook for coaching, will solve all their problems at the workplace going through 6 months of coaching. So like that, the expectations, unless it is very clearly set, it can be confusion at the end. So those are the kind of two specific kind of learning points that I had. I'm presenting now in my moving forward of as maturing as a coach. Yeah. So Piamsuk, you have any experiences to share at this point?
Yeah, I used to have the client that we have agreement of the six sessions, and then on after the fourth session, she just resigned. So what I have done was I talked to her supervisor. What should we do for the next two? So it ended up with she replaced with the new replacement managers, which is we can continue. So this is about the negotiation or the we can solve the problem that it may not be in the agreement in the beginning, but we can discuss this with the client. But it depends on the client. I may a little bit lucky that the client is very nice, so we can come up with a very good solution.
Yeah. So then now from this point, I would like to see focus your mind into different types of agreements that can happen. I have just categorized it in a few different ways. One is like it can be agreement upon the time, the kind of time schedule or sequence of coaching. So and that is a real challenge sometimes, because each organizational context, each operation is different, and the sequencing, unless otherwise we properly discuss, later on they find excuses. Sometimes the clients find it's very difficult for them to focus on the coaching assignment. And then certain things that I experience, sometimes the coach, you have gone to already in the premises to coach them, but they are with their own operational pressures, some urgencies, where sometimes the line manager also don't want them to come in. So as a coach, from the beginning, that we need to very have our that risk of losing time, unproductive time, that has to be discussed. And then help them to take more accountability and commitment into the coaching agreement. So there's another type of agreement that I see is like confrontation. Sometimes, sometimes when if I had to coach somebody, a senior, now I have a client at the age of uh, around 52 and a senior person. So confrontation sometimes according to the culture and that way that we treat adults or like uh, the boss or kind of relationships sometimes unless other on, so it can be very defensive kind of a thing. So I agree. In my initial discussions, I very specifically, clearly tell them like, this is how I am going to confront. So I may ask some challenging questions, and the way that I'm intervening, I agree with them, and again, I use a certain intervention agreement. I treat even like asking permission. So may I interrupt you? Uh, may I ask you a question? So like that, for interrupting to like say offering perceptions, reformulation, giving feedback. So I might ask beforehand. I might tell them like things, but it can be a very subtle, very small way of contracting once again, saying that I might seek permission from you, but I might challenge you in this way. So, and another challenge that I am facing when it comes to corporate coaching or business coaching is where I sometimes suggestions. Say, example, I wanted one client to journal uh, how they listen. But again, when they fail to do that, right? And I was not. Then I realized later on where I have never checked properly whether the client is really keen and the client's interest towards getting that thing done. And now when I'm doing that, I just don't suggest things, and I try my best to buy in the client into it. So that is also I see a kind of contracting. Yeah, so that's where that I share. And let us move forward, Ben. Yeah. So, and by this time, we all, I think you all understand that mutual expectations and mutual understanding and a strong relationship in the beginning is going to protect the client and the coach, as well as in business context, it will protect uh, the, the sponsors and whoever who is appropriately engaged in this session, coaching session, not directly sometimes. So that's where, like for me, we in the in moving forward as maturing as a coach, contracting is I feel like it's like Amora, the MCC. I just shared myself and Piansuk, like it's when it comes to ICF competencies, it's Amora present it as okay, ethics and the competencies as the outer of a washing machine, right? And then she says the inner drum where we put clothes. The clothes, what we put is the agreement. It can be the outcomes, it can be the objective that we want to achieve, the clothes. And the drum which is holding the clothes, it's going to be the as Piamsu said, it is going to be the holding, or it is going to be the connection that we have. So something like that. So where like I myself found in doing coaching, contracting and recontracting and reminding the contract again and again will definitely help the coaching to be more impactful. And it, from the coach's side also, it helps the coach to remind the coach where that we are moving. So that kind of prime importance that I keep in my mind when I'm coaching. Yeah, so
Yeah, as we have learned that in the beginning of the coaching session, we are talk about the objective and the outcome of the conversation. In our context, we usually call, we normally call it's a clear point A and point B that will create clear direction of the coaching conversation. The client will know now where to go, which way to walk through, what initially to look for, etc. He or she will heads up for having awareness of the journey is now starting. Seeking for the meaningfulness of the outcome is to create the in-depth feelings about how important of this coaching conversation is, and is whole the client stick to what the conversation is going on, not to just lose their mind going out anywhere else. The measurement of what you are right now is to clarify the current status of the condition that the client is facing. Yeah. Somehow it creates the intention of I want to move forward and pay attention to the coaching conversation they are into now. The measurement of the success during the conversation is like the milestone of the journey. That this will hold the client into the outcome direction and have the high morale of moving forward towards the goal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Taking for like from Piansuk, I would like to Ben. Could you go back to that few slides, like where the diagram was, like be there. So sometimes I come back to the diagram, Ben. Thank you very much. Sometimes I find, like say, when it comes to objectives, outcome setting, sometimes I find it very difficult. Like sometimes there are clients like who wants to clarify things, and there isn't a very clear outcome that you find. So when the client says, I want to clarify things, right? Those are challenging. As a coach, sometimes we have to face this, like where you cannot see like a behavioral change, where in that box where it says behavior, I know what I want to change. So the client, if the client and the coach both know what needs to change, yeah, it's a bit clear. But sometimes the client wants to clarify things, or else client wants to be exploratory. The client is seeking more to like explore things, right? And then sometimes the clients want to see the growth and discovery. So more of internal, more of myself. So generally, I have this sales model, which if somebody like, I can share. There is a document around this where when the outcomes are not very specifically cannot be stated, so but still we can help the client by focusing on these areas. So that's where, like, sometimes even in an organizational context, there are certain things can be measured, like say suppose we agree upon measuring certain behavioral changes using a 360 feedback based on certain models, like generally I use the leadership circle model when it comes to leadership, then DISC and MBTI in certain instances. So sometimes using a tool you can measure. So if otherwise, how to measure? So it's very as a contracting point or getting engaged with the client, especially when you engage with corporate clients or business coaching, very clearly identified by both parties or all the parties. Yeah. So, Piamsu?
Yeah, I think that is the good point. During the I would like to add on about the trust a little bit. We may know this word rapport. We may familiar with this word. We always know that the rapport is the psychologically building trust at the first stage of the engagement. In psychologically, it's the physiology is face to face, vocal tone of voice, the words we use in a conversation, effective engagement in terms of the trust, the sense of give and take, mutually respect between the coach and the client also create trust too. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Piam. So Ben, can we move forward? 2 slides, I think. Ben, can we move forward? Thank you. Yeah. So for our easy, let's look at psychological contract, which is most powerful. In coaching, like sometimes it's as we already discussed a little bit in the introduction, there are unspoken things, unspoken hopes and aspirations and fears. Now, I remember as a beginner, as a coach, I had that fear where whether am I doing something wrong as a coach, but not being fully competent, because it's like catch-22 problem where you can't be a impactful coach, like say achieve mastery unless you do coaching. So in that level of contracting, where in the beginning I told my clients, probably the practicing time, I told I am a student and I am practicing. So gradually, once you build up, because there are unspoken fears and stories, and sometimes when I am getting into more of a business coaching, I had a fear whether the client achieved the agreed objective. Can it be my failure, his failure, the assignment failure? So now when I'm maturing as a coach, those attachments are gradually fading away. So you become more vulnerable as a coach to open up and tell or discuss whatever that you hope. Now, right now, a recent assignment I told the client where my focus is not the outcome that you want to achieve. So my focus is you. I would like to help you in achieving that. So I made it very clear from the beginning. So otherwise the client will see, or else like the sponsor will also see, like I openly said that at the contracting time, the discussions time. So that's where like sometimes you become more vulnerable, you become more open and comfortably to be in the space of unknown, and open up and like bring that beauty into contracting, where you become very authentic and real, and express what is going on with you as a coach. So yeah, so that way I see that psychologically what is going on with you uh, gradually when you are maturing as a coach is very, very important. So yeah, so let's move forward, Ben. Yeah, so and again continuing with developing trust, as Piamsuk already mentioned, the partnership, and when it comes to holding the client, uh, genuineness and commitment. Now, sometimes as coaches, with our busy schedules, so if we are not really prepared at least 1 hour before the session, and maintaining our administrative records of the client, uh, and and then meeting the kind of the coaching timing and things like that. So it might affect the engagement sometimes. So then make sure that whatever that you promised or to be given to the client, or maybe say you promise that you share an article or something as a suggestion, like for the client to work on as homework. So that transparency, making that those promises, so all that impacting the engagement. So in that way, uh, I can share one experience where I finished two managers who went through 1 year of coaching yesterday, uh, and then we had a review of what happened. So because in that review, like say it was happened only between the client and the coach, but what I realized was how important is the contracting when it come to review. I was not subjective, I was very objective, and when the client was very emotionally speaking of the client's journey, so I was holding into the contract that we made, and I was more of not to take that emotionally, by allowing the client to be more emotional, but I was focusing on the objectives or the agreement that we had from the beginning. So that way it creates, or maybe the client will see the impact very clearly, and have further trust. And then client concluded that saying that though the coaching is over, our relationship will continue. So I had a laugh. So I said, now you see that you don't need a coach, I said. So I said, now you have transformed to be a coach by yourself, from a client to coach. So be happy. So something like that. So yeah, so it's a for me it's a beautiful experience, beautiful partnership, which goes beyond the paper contracts. It goes beyond the paper contract, and that trust is going to continue. So it's going to be there forever with clients. But again, coming to that, all these what we discussed, the areas that we discussed will help. Those are the kind of tools. Those are the kind of key bullet points where that help this trust to be established. Yeah, so
Yeah, there are a lot of some of the key points that will help the trust and the engagement to be strong in the conversation. One thing is that very, very important is the presence. From what we have known, the presence is what the coach is stand firm there be with the client. Maybe the other thing is not only the outside matter, for example, like physiology or voice or words, but the coach may be having the deeper engagement in or rapport into the feelings or emotion of the client too. This is the tricky part. We as a coach has been taught about not to get into the emotional trap of the client, so that both will be stuck into the muddy water and the conversation will not go anywhere, right? But the presence plays the big role over here. The coach, yes, rapport the client's feeling and emotion to understand how and what the client is facing at the moment right now, but the coach yet hold the space and stand firmly, know what he or she is doing, thinking, feeling, and revert back to the client with the empathy, hold the client with the positive intention, with the firm direction of holding client's hands to move forward. That would be very beautiful flowing of the conversation, and that enhance the trust and make the engagement is very strong. The other thing is the observation. We familiar with active listening. Hear what the client doesn't say the words. Understand client's thinking, feeling, behaving. With the empathy reaction in terms of the expression during the conversation, creates the bonding and lower the barrier that makes the coach and the client getting closer. Being the expert on the coaching process, the coach follow the process, yet flexible. That means the direct direction is clear. The coach walk through the process, dance with the client, but not in the manner of rigid structure, step by step, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but in the manner of naturally flowing like the water in the river, soft yes powerful. And at the end of the flow, we get into the ocean to the outcome or point B. That is the coaching agreement is contracted. At the end of the day, I would say that it stay on track towards the expected outcome. So that might be the some element that makes the engagement more stronger. Yeah.
Wow, Piam, so I really like that that flowing the river and it's going to the ocean. That's beautiful. What I see the way that you presented is engagement. The essence of engagement is sometimes presence, right?
Yeah, right. It's presence.
Yeah. So and again, like align with the presence. Um, uh, I see that according to our ACC model that we studied, uh, the though we spoke about a process there, as you rightly said, it is a very organic process. So in terms of engaging, that as you rightly said, that the flow of the conversation, where it is very important to for the coach to be masterful in the process and then use all the competencies in line with active listening, powerful questioning, and to be present in that context with the client. So beautiful. So let us see, like in the organizational context. If you move forward, Ben, one more slide. Yeah, so contract early and often. So often we need to contract because we say that coaching is result oriented, and coaching is result oriented, and in CMA we believe that to create sustainable results we need transformation. So that's where that we bring as CMA coaches. We would like to create sustainable results. So and again, so what looking at where are you now, and again looking at where you want to be is critical for the client to bring in for more meaningful outcomes. So as Piamsuk said, coaching presence is a key here to engage with the client in all it means. So in that sense, like contracting in the context of getting engaged with the client professionally, not as a social contract or social behavior that we demonstrate in a normal human intervention. That professionalism is very important in the professional coaching context. So move forward, Ben. We have 5 minutes, I think, so we can hello, Ben.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Right. Okay. So now, actually, this is something from which I got from a document where I see that it is important to share with all our coaches who are interested to probably like practicing already as a coach in the business arena. So the key points here, the framework for like as a framework, you can use this as a checklist where if I integrate all what we discussed, it is very important to evaluate the readiness of the coachee. That's one point. Then engaging all appropriate constituents goals into the goal setting and agenda setting. That is a very key point where we can tick off. Then obtaining commitment and support from the people, especially in organizational context. There are leadership development. When you say it doesn't happen in an isolate manner. So for the person to develop as a leader, the boss and the colleagues and the subordinates, everybody helps. So we as coaches, bringing them into the leadership development is very important. So, and then defining the roles of each one, summarizing of what we discussed. Then facilitating the agenda of all these participants directly with the client or indirectly. So developing certain realistic, challenging goals, and then set time frames which is realistic with the client and the coach. So recontracting when appropriate. I found like one example. Client said at the 7th session, now it's done. I have nothing, no topics. then I had to recontract with the client. Then we had to go back and evaluate, right? So let us discuss. If I would like to give some time for the audience to ask and clarify any questions at this moment. Ben?
Okay, thank you. Well, we have a long theory in terms of what is needed of having an engagement. So I'm going to open up the floor right now. I'm sure many of you who join, who have make a decision to join to the webinar has a lot of real life practical kind of like queries or questions, or kind of like I would say question, but uncertainty of how do I better manage this kind of situation like that. So I think this is a very good opportunity to sort of like get a collective wisdoms from some of our program directors, or even from some of our students here who are already a practitioner, to consolidate some of the things that you can do to help to go around the tricky situation. Okay, so let's spend the next 20 minutes, addressing some of this tricky issue, and hopefully we can walk away with some, I wouldn't say solution, but at least some wisdom and principle that allow you to navigate this muddy water. Okay, anyone else has any interesting questions or tricky questions that you would like to bring up for discussion?
Hi, this is Joan.
Hi, Joe. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much for the for sharing this presentation. I have a question on confidentiality. I
Yes,
hear that
certainly.
there are some things that we can't tell the sponsors and things like that. So I have that problem. Okay, because the sponsors ask me, how's my coachee doing, my client doing, what have you guys been discussing? Yeah, so I'm not sure how much I can tell, and so that it doesn't break this trust that I have with the client. Can you help me with that?
Sure, no problem. Good.
Yeah.
I will try to answer that first, and then later I will invite Jay and Byung-Soo and the rest of the program director to come in to chip in to see what other gems. My attempt is that we need to honor some basic principles. Now, it was very interesting to hear the way you phrase your question. The way, if you listen back, you say there are certain things that we cannot tell. I'm not sure whether is it whether we should reframe this phrase that cannot tell, because that phrase itself has a lot of, it shows a lot of the current assumptions that executive coach or external coach brought in. Now, the bottom line principle is this: we report what we have agreed to report.
Yeah.
Let me say that again. We report based on what we have agreed to report. So there is no such thing as I cannot tell. Okay, I cannot. It's not that I cannot. That this is something that is not within the agreement for me to disclose. Now you have to be clear that you are not. You are not. You don't want to stand in a position where you become a scapegoat for some people to do dirty business. Which unfortunately, things like this do happen, not because of ill motive, but because certain things have to do at a very professional level, especially when we're dealing with staff development. It's just any good HR practitioner understands there are certain information we cannot disclose, even when bosses try to push their way to get certain data. As a HR practitioner, you know that there is a code of ethics that you need to uphold that you cannot disclose. So similarly, as executive coach, we have to bring that mindset in, that I'm only obligated to release information based on what we have agreed. So one of the very good practice that I will make sure that I will definitely put it as a priority to have it as an agenda to discuss with whoever the sponsor is to agree upon what is the expected reporting protocol, as in what is the current reports that you expect from me to you. That is one channel. And I'm also will make a demand on what are those reports that I can keep confidentiality within me and my client. Is there any specific expectation? And third, I would then make a request that whatever we agree to report upon, okay, it will be made known to the client. Or, I mean, in this case, not the sponsor, but the person that I'm coaching. And if they refuse, then I would ask them for a good explanation as to what's the reason behind that, what is the sensitivity around that information that cannot be made known to the clients that, you know, that I need to report to you, but it's not supposed to make known to the client. Then I will use that as a basis to evaluate. Is there something that I need to manage specially? Because I want to make sure that I don't become a scapegoat. Now, then, therefore, then it varies, and then that is where you have to remanage that expectation, not so much of the reporting, but it might be that the coaching engagement expectations is not clearly explored in full term. Because if anything that is cleaned, anything that really serve both the clients and the organization well, I don't see any reason why certain information cannot be made known to the client, that this is what will be reported from me as a coach to you as a sponsor. Why can't I release that piece of information? So I would like to have an understanding around it. Now, if the understanding is clear, acceptable, and with due good reason that it is to protect the interests of the organization with certain things and and you find that you are comfortable with that, then go ahead. So these are the three basic kind of like safety net that I had to make sure that there is an understanding on what is to be reported, what is to be reviewed, and what needs to be kept confidential. And when I meet the clients, I always bring along that piece with me to assure the clients that, look, this process can be trusted because these are the content that we all have agreed mutually that will be reported for the organization to assist you in this particular development path. So once that agreement has been made known, then it is okay that, such question of whether I can or cannot might be able to minimize to the bare minimum.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and second thing that I, as a bottom line principle is, it's a mindset as executive coach that you need to know that you are a professional service provider. You are not there to please somebody. Okay, because once you lose that ground, that I'm a professional, then you become a people pleaser to both the sponsor or to the person that you are trying to coach. That's where you are in a very shaky ground. So bring that mindset in that I'm a professional service provider. I'm not here to please anybody. I need to uphold what has been agreed upon. If things that has not been agreed upon, then I need to make a stand to say that, well, unfortunately, I don't think I would like to disclose that piece of confidential information, mainly because we have not agreed upon that this is something that needs to be shared openly. Make sense for you?
Yeah.
Great. So how about Byung-Soo, Jay, and Jackie and Nok? Is there anything else that you'd like to add on to help to clarify this very tricky, delicate piece of reporting information?
Ben?
Go ahead.
Jay here. So I found one time I found a managing director of a company who never wanted to appear in the tripartite agreement, like agreement time. The MD never wanted to come in. And then later that I found his expectation that when he briefed me separately, and he had a different expectation over the client. Like what he told was not, it's a development assignment, leadership development, but the sponsor was trying to solve a relationship issue with the client using me in between. That I felt like that as a coach. So then he wanted to ask certain questions, like he wanted to dig into the content of what went with the coach and the client, where I had to stand by, as you rightly said now, that professional part. I took it as a guard and said yes. So if you remember, sir, I mentioned in my proposal and even the contracting time, certain information is not been disclosed. So that way, sometimes we've been challenged, because later I found from the client, he said that he told during the process of coaching, the client have told the MD, I found myself. then the sponsor wanted to see what is that, because he had his different agenda with the client. So sometimes you find the agenda from the sponsor, what they want in a coaching is not very clear. They have different other things back up their mind. Mm-hmm. So detailed discussion is very important in that aspect for me.
Okay,
thank you.
Jackie, any thoughts around that?
Just in addition to what you shared, Ben, one of the ways that we've been able to practice agreeing on what to report in terms of execution, for one of our corporate clients, we actually created a template that was used for every session with a coaching client, and we showed the client, here's the template that will be used to report to management. Anything that is on this template is what will be reported, and so it's very transparent to them what is included and what is not, and they see a copy before it's even summarized, and that way there's no guessing.
Yes.
So as I guess, on top of agreeing upfront, if there is transparency in what is reported, that will also help.
Yeah. So one of the most important pieces of the executive coaching role is the reporting part. We comes in with a lot of documentation. One of the things is to check out your own template on what has to be reported. Another thing that I find a very helpful principle is that I will never represent my client in front of my sponsor. I will report what is needed to be reported on the documentation. And those things are usually very tangible, measurable. If you have done the measure of success between the agreement between you and the sponsor, it will become very easy to identify them in a very tangible form in a report. Now, anything that belongs to the clients, then I will be wise enough to make sure that I don't represent their view or I don't say anything on their behalf. This is what, a normal professional would do. We agreed to work on this goal, and I went to work with these clients, and this is what is the clarity of the outcome, and this is what we have identified action steps. So we presented that to the sponsor, and that if the sponsor has any query, it has to be queried along that goal set of how things are showing up. Anything that belongs directly to the client's opinion, to the client's perspective, to the client's own emotional makeup, I will be very careful to represent them. I will be very careful to do that, because I don't want to get in the position where I'm making a decision or leading the sponsor to a way of looking at things that might not be what the client actually presented. Does that make sense?
Mm. Yeah.
Okay, so in other words, deal with the whole reporting as what you would deal with as a HR practitioner yourself, dealing with your sponsor who is also a HR practitioner. So, information are very sensitive, especially due to personal data. So we had to be very wise. So two principle, I report what has been agreed to, and I will never represent my client.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Anyone else has anything interesting question, any interesting thoughts or questions that you'd like to tease us?
Yes, I have a question.
Hi,
Ben.
okay, David.
Hi. I wonder if PM Suk or Anil or even Ben could share maybe some experiences of your engagement with top level people like CEOs and business owners, particularly of big companies, big businesses. The target group I'm trying to get at are people with big egos. I mean, basically they are head of a big organization. They control a lot of people's future and lives, in their hands. So when in dealing with this kind of character, with this kind of people, could you share, or any one of you share, your experiences in engaging them as a coach? Yeah. Thank you.
What do you mean by engaging them in particular that you had in mind?
Well, that's a very good question, actually. You see,
no, just clarify.
That's good, yeah. Because the basis of my question was that, as Piam Suk earlier mentioned, compatibility of coach and client. Sometimes when we are given a client who is like so high up, so high ranking, so and we are coming up from say factory worker level, and okay, this is an extreme comparison, but I think you get what I'm trying to say. This guy is so highly qualified, and you don't know what is it like to be there, but you feel confident to take him on. But how do you do it? I mean, I'm not asking for methods. I'm just asking for experiences.
So the issue is, what if the client's experience far supersedes than the coach experience? Is that what you're driving at?
Yes.
And how should a coach, in the typical case, assuming that the contract has been awarded?
Yes.
In that case, then celebrate that your experience matches your client's experience. Then it's your own self-limiting belief that is standing in the way. Because hypothetically, if the contract is awarded to you, meaning that, let's be real in a sense how the business actually operates. For CEOs and for top-notch guide, the companies are very careful in terms of who they select as their coach. Now, if those coaches has been selected, very likely it matches the same level with them. So you can rejoice that actually such case doesn't exist, that your experience does not match up with the client's experience. Okay, so it most probably a self-limiting belief that is sort of like maybe a first time coaching a high flyer that you get selected, So it's more of you managing your self-limiting kind of like, it's more your own personal positioning that you need to get over it. But you can rejoice the fact that the contract has been awarded to you. So it's kind of like you have been, esteemed at the same level, because high levels clients, pick their coaches very carefully because of the high investment and also the investment of time. They want to make sure something productive gets out as a result of this engagement. Time is of essence. Okay, so rejoice over that. Second thing, if you tap on your own wisdom, you are limited. If you tap on your client's wisdom, you are unlimited. So that is a philosophy behind that power of inquiry. When you learn the science of, when you learn the art of what coaching is, you are not tapping on your own wisdom. If you tap on your own wisdom to serve the client, then very likely you can only serve clients that is below your own wisdoms. That means that your size of coaching is only limited to your own domain expert knowledge, and you are very tactical in the way you address certain coaching topics. But as you advance and mature in your science of inquiry, in your coaching, you are able to inquire something that allows you to draw out. So you are tapping on the client's own wisdoms. You no longer depends on your own domain experts, because I am limited in terms of what I know, in terms of factual knowledge, especially in running a business in your company where I have no real contact in the environment of what is transpiring in you. So it would be very, very ineffective if I learn to trust on my limited experience or wisdom to serve the clients. Therefore, my way of inquiry must be able to draw out the wisdom from the client. So that is where you have to mature in your skills. When that happens, very likely you are selected because you have relevant skill set, experience or qualification to match the high caliber clients. And number two, very likely you qualify yourself at the advanced level of using inquiry that allows you to tap on the client's own wisdom. So if these both cases are working in hand, very likely I don't see a big issue in terms of coaching with a CEO. But one of the things that you know about CEO is that they're very stubborn. They don't admit that, it's always external reference. So the key is that you have more. The good thing to rejoice is that you have at least 3 to 5 engagement with a CEO. Be wise, build good rapport before you actually jump into the hot water. Okay, so the pre-coaching engagement with CEO is the key here. Have lunchtime talk, just to get to know him better without actually engage. After all, it is a big client. It's at least a 5 figures payout for you. So having a lunchtime talk with him, playing golf or whatever that he sees as a hobby, building that kind of initial rapport will certainly help you to bypass the stubbornness. The CEO don't trust people a lot. They don't, seriously, they don't. Okay, they don't. So they don't trust the coach either until the coach is their friend. Then they will be more vulnerable to share. If not, otherwise, it's really pulling a bull, to drink the water. So the pre-engagement is one of the best practice I find to help to cushion it, so that they are much more open to allow me to understand what is their worldview, what is it that they're thinking about in a very safe, kind of like open fashions.
Yeah, Ben?
Yeah, okay.
I can share something, Mia. So, David, the question that you asked, my experience that I can share, I had to coach a managing director who is a Britisher from a large multinational. Actually, they are the third in the global market. So there's this MD, managing director, was in Sri Lanka, Britisher. Exactly what Ben said. So I had to meet him on luncheon meetings and few other. I went into grounds with him to play cricket, and then we had built rapport before the assignment. So definitely, because then he gradually started building trust in me, and then went into sharing and went into a real coaching. It took me about a good 6 months, and 4-5 times out of office to build that rapport. And then I saw, initially I saw a big gap, like his exposure and experience, and I'm nowhere compared to that. But later I found there is a very big connection. I see him as a human being that needs to be helped. So, and he wanted that help. So to get into that connectivity, it took, as exactly what Ben said, it took that out of office and understanding his other things and getting engaged, prior engaged to the session. Thank you for that.
And if you want to bypass that stage of rapport and build that trust, what you need to watch out for, therefore, what is a time bomb that you need to avoid in the coaching process is to never prove him wrong. Number two, bring your evidence. You need to get your facts right, not by what you say or what you had to say in a way of a factual evidence. And third, never direct him to his actions. Only reflect his thinking to him. That means, in other words, don't challenge him on his term of his actions. Be a reflector, be a mirror, reflect his way of looking at things, his perspective, his logic, his reasoning. Reflect that and invite him to consider the implication at, what is at stake in that perspective. What needs to be challenged in that way of looking at things? What needs to be broadened here? So in that regard, he feels safe because you are not CEOs who are egoistic people who are stubborn. They guard their action very well. If you attack them on the level of action, you're going to get a very big atomic bomb because I'm the expert in terms of my course of action. And here you are trying to say that these actions need to be improved. See my point? So reflect to them what is their thinking and invite them to challenge that thinking, different from the actions. So this is what I find very helpful or challenging.
Thanks for sharing, Ben and Anil.
Thank you.
Quite a bit here.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? I know that we're running up to almost half an hour. So let's just open for one more questions. Anyone will have some interesting questions that you'd like to bring up for exploration? Tricky questions about engagement between sponsors and clients. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Great. So in closing, let me just sum it up with one very simple fact. Where is your loyalty as an executive coach or an external coach? Where is your loyalty? Okay, so is your loyalty towards the client inclined towards the clients, or your loyalty is inclined towards the sponsor? Now, and this is a hard question because it touches the dollars and cents. I mean, dollars and it touches the financial part. It touches money. Whoever pay you the money has the power, and that's where the code of ethics really needs to come in. If not otherwise, this professional service provider is no different than just kind of like somebody engaged to do some dirty laundry. So you need to go back and ask yourself these fundamental questions. Where is my loyalty? Is it with the client or is it with the sponsor? Now remember, sponsor only deals with contractual legal things. As long as you are able to manage it in terms of clarity and document it properly, that this is what we agreed to set up to do, then you are in a very safe hand to serve your client. Okay, because you are protected by that legal binding that you have contracted with the sponsor. So the key for real good coaching engagement, as what Jay and Byung-Suk has mentioned, is the contracting part of what is expected of you to deliver as a coach. Now, most sponsors, based on my experience, are not very clear about what they want. They only know the topic. Okay, I want some talent management. I want the person to be promoted. I want the person to manage well. I have some pipeline for him to succession planning. I want him to be better. They are just blabbling around the topic. Like any coach working with the clients, we need to dive deep in terms of getting the topic to a good outcome and find out what really matters most for them through a consulting piece. Once you're able to do that and clearly bring clear milestones and checkpoints for you to report back to the sponsor, you can use that as a protection to safeguard all confidentiality information for your client so that your client can feel very safe to top up their vulnerability. Okay, so that's the bottom line that you can walk away with. Okay, good. So thank you very much for all your time. Let me just give a quick announcement on what to expect for next week. We're going to go back to the core competency discussion again, ending up with the very important piece, the final piece, which I think most of you are always questioning during the 4 days of training. Ben, why is it that we spend so much time of awareness and clarity? How about choice conversation? You keep telling us it's so straightforward, but what is straightforward to you may not be straightforward to us. You know, how do we manage progress and design action for our client? So we understood that need that is not that we have not thoroughly covered that as much as we can in the 4 days training and even for the practical coaching session. So we have decided to bring that piece of discussions into our webinar as part of the post-training support. So next month, on the first, I think that is 3rd of October, if I'm not wrong. Yes, on the 3rd of October, let me take a look first to clarify. Yes, on the 3rd of October, we have Julia and Florence going to talk about managing progress for your clients. They will devote their time more in terms of the design of action steps and how do you manage progress with the client in terms of what you have set up to. What's the outcome of what is the action steps out of the coaching conversation? How do you go about managing the progress after the coaching conversations? So that will be the discussion topic for next CPD. Okay, and a second announcement that we want to make is that the advanced training is right now open for registrations. These are particular for people who want to move ahead to apply for their PCC credential and are in need of the additional hours of training to meet ICF requirements, or also for those who might not want to go for PCC credential, but you felt a need for me to be more trusting my intuition, or how can I go out of the framework and be more to be able to have the ability to assess the wisdom and inner knowing, to be able to trust your intuition and let that come out more powerfully. So that is what the advanced training is designed for. It's designed more for artfulness, to be more artful in your coaching. The first level is more in giving you the science of the framework, and now you got the framework, then we are inviting you to take a deep dive. How can you forget about the framework right now and be fully trusting the process in terms of trusting yourself? Okay, so it's conducted by myself and Molly, which is another MCC. So it's open up for registration. Look out for the details in the website. We'll be sending our email to you guys, letting you know more about the details. So far, thank you so much. Hope you find it helpful. See you again on 3rd of October. Bye.
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 Thank you. Good night.
Bye.